Yeah, I mean they gotta. I I wonder if what they're doing is they're talking to all these developers for more Game Pass games, or if they're looking at any acquisitions. One, I guess the studio they have right now is Tango GameWorks, and I'm very interested to see what comes from them because they've said that they don't want to just do the survival horror Evil Within style game, so they're going to be working on something completely new. So I wonder
Yes.
what that's going to be whenever they show that off. That'll be super interesting. And when it comes to acquisitions, there was this clip that was going around where Phil Spencer was asked about acquisitions, and he essentially said, "Well, I mean, we can listen to it quickly." At
Got
least,
Tencent really starting to get involved in the space now? You've got Sony nibbling at the edges? Or is it just about waiting and seeing what happens with Activision and then pressing pause for a little bit in terms of buying up other studios?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, you nailed it. This is such a competitive market. I don't think we get to press pause on anything. Tencent is the largest gaming company on the planet today, and they continue to heavily invest in gaming content and game creators. Sony is a larger business than we are in gaming today, and they continue to invest. When you look at the investments that we've made, it's a highly, highly competitive market. We strive to be a major player here. We want to deliver great content for our players, and we're going to remain active. Like I said, whether that's investing in our internal teams that are already building great games that people know and love, whether it's building new partnerships. I mean, one of the things I love about coming here to Tokyo is the developers I get to meet with, the new partnerships we have with people like Kojima Productions, and going to talk to some of our existing publishing partners and independent creators about games that we want to build. And if it turns into acquisitive M&A work, we're active there too. So the work for us never ends. It's a competitive market, and I want to make sure Xbox is at the forefront of innovation and competition.
so there you have it. He talks. He was asked about more acquisitions. And my opinion on more acquisitions has always been like nothing's happening until Activision Blizzard deal goes through, and I think that's essentially for them too. They're not going to announce anything until after that, but they're actively looking. And one of the places they're probably actively looking all the time is going to be Japan. And what else he mentions here, which I find really interesting, is he specifically talks about Tencent. Tencent is a company that a lot of people like to kind of like, I think maybe forget how big they are and how powerful they are and how they continue to invest in companies. Like they just invest some more into Square Enix and stuff. And yes, they're dominant in the Chinese market, but they're trying, I think, their best to expand more and more. So Xbox has to continue to acquire studios and continue to increase their portfolio to be able to compete with that. I mean, we even kind of take a look at like the biggest companies right now, and like I said, Tencent is number one, followed by Sony, and it all ties back, I think, to like the competition. And when you hear Phil Spencer talking about stuff like this, you can see that they are just full on invested in the gaming industry. I can't even remember. I don't remember if they ever talked of this at all in the Xbox One generation. So I guess like my question to you, Sour, is do you think there's going to be other big acquisitions coming, smaller acquisitions? What do you want to see? Who do you want to, if you have anybody in mind you'd want them to acquire? Where do you want to see Xbox continue to expand, I guess, to compete and be able to take on the likes of a company like Tencent going forward?
Okay. Well, well, there's a difference of what would I like, and then what I think they would do strategically.
Give them both. Give me them both.
Okay, I would definitely like them to purchase Warner Brothers, just because I would like to have the Batman IP and many other games, Mortal Kombat, etc.
Yeah.
I would also like them to get something like Capcom, because Capcom, I would say, make a lot of the Japanese games that I kind of like, and maybe they can bring a lot of those old IPs that I used to like a lot from Capcom. But then, of course, that's kind of asking a little bit much for the world. But what I think they're going to do, and maybe that's what their approach should be, they're probably gonna start locking in a lot of these smaller developers, like Asobo, for example. They've been pretty connected to them. There's a lot of other teams that they're testing the waters with them, like Avalanche, which is making Contraband. They have IO Interactive, which they make the Hitman, and they're making the Project Dragon, you know,
Yeah.
and there's many others like that. They're testing the waters. I think they're gonna try to secure them, and you know, those are gonna be much easier to purchase. And I also think they're gonna hit other markets around the world, like other studios that some of them maybe we might know who they are, but some of them we might not even know who they are because they might come from random country, like from India, from Africa, or from Latin America. And you're gonna be like, who are these guys? We're not gonna know, but they know because they see what they're working behind the scenes. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I think they're gonna start doing.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think one of the things with Xbox is their room for growth in other parts of the world is huge. Where it's like you think of like Japan specifically, right? Like they have so much room to grow, whereas Sony and Nintendo dominate those markets. And when you look at North America, you look at the United States, you look at Canada, and Mexico specifically, like the competition between Xbox and PlayStation is so close. And I think a lot of that is reflected in how PlayStation did their price changes and stuff, right? Like in the US, they didn't raise the price, but in these markets where they have such a huge grasp on the market, they raise them because they know people are still going to go out and purchase them. And it was less of a worry about them losing market share to Xbox. But when it comes to all these studios, these smaller studios that we don't know about that they're probably working with and seeing how they fit into the Xbox family, it's going to be huge for expanding Xbox into other parts of the world, and then also with cloud gaming. So I guess we'll see what they do. But after Activision Blizzard, like are we going to get like another big? People are always thinking like, are they going to purchase EA? Are they going to purchase Sega? Are they going to purchase Warner Brothers? Now that's always been the rumors. And when you think about EA, it's like they've worked with EA for a decent amount of time now with EA Play or whatever it's called, EA Access coming into Xbox Game Pass. So maybe they're testing that out. Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft just got even putting the Ubisoft Plus onto the Xbox platform. Maybe that's something they're testing out as well. So there's so many things that they can go ahead and expand. There's always a worry about like consolidation, I guess. Are you worried at all about like this is going to be turning into just like 3 or 4 just juggernauts going at it, and it could potentially hurt like quality of games at all?
I mean, we should be worried about it, especially if, you know, at the same time, you know, we are greedy and we games on Game Pass,
Yeah.
and we just think like, oh, Microsoft should purchase this publisher because these games are coming to Game Pass. But eventually, if that happens, you know, that is not good for us gamers because then they're gonna control the market, and if they control the market, they can set the price. They can, you know, they can basically do whatever they want, and we got kind of have to, you know, roll with that. But if I would say if consolidation comes up with, there's 3 big companies, but these 3 big companies are really competing and they're really trying to match each other, that might be even better for us because, you know, we're gonna get 3 big company that they're gonna give us, you know, their best products. They're gonna try to make their customers happy. Because at the same time, you know, we also don't want, like, for example, right now we have so many, you know, media stream competition, and we have so many subscriptions that if we get all of them, you know, it's like we originally liked it Netflix because it was gonna save us money on on cable, but now it's like, okay, we're spending more than
Yeah.
if we had cable. So
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like I've been going through like all my subscriptions. I've been canceling some recently, but it's just like they add up so fast. How many that
yeah,
you subscribe to just literally to watch maybe one show or one movie, and they're going along those lines with gaming, but it's not even. I don't think it's close to that yet. Because like when you think about gaming subscriptions, how many people think about anything else other than Xbox Game Pass right now? Like how many people even right now know tons about like PlayStation Plus? I mean, it's there, but like I wonder what their numbers are and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. Like, well, if like Tencent were to make like a subscription service, and I don't know,
yeah.
Amazon at some point if they get further into gaming. I think the one thing that I always think about when it comes to like these acquisitions and why it's kind of like um I don't want to see everything bought up by all these big companies. I do definitely want to see companies, developers stay independent and not be completely just owned by these big corporations and the shareholders, and be pushed to doing whatever that they tell them to do. The one thing though is that when Xbox does buy a developer, does buy a studio, at least at the end of the day, you're going to be able to play it in multiple places. So there's that part to it that's
Yeah.
good. And then there's what we've seen so far, which could be kind of to the detriment to what Xbox's strategy is they are, it seems like they're completely hands off. Like, as the big corporation looking down on the studios, trying to get them to do whatever they want. You look at some of the games like Pentiment that's coming out. If it was a huge corporation trying to make as much money as possible and suck every dime out of everybody, they probably wouldn't have greenlit Pentiment and let them take whatever, or I guess that was before, but they probably would have taken those resources and put it back into other games, or like Grounded and from
Yeah.
Obsidian, right? Like, so that part I think is good. I think that part's awesome that they're not overwatching everyone, but at the same time, it's like you look at 343 and they needed a leader at some point to get this thing on track faster, and it almost seems like they were just letting them continue to to do whatever they were doing without anybody telling them that it was time to kind of move in one direction to get it going until I guess Bonnie Ross left or got fired or whatever. So there's like good and bad to both of it. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to PlayStation and Xbox buying up a bunch of stuff, right now, consumer friendly this side is on Xbox, and if we have to choose, I'm choosing Xbox on that part. So we'll see, and if they expand in Japan, we'll see what studios that they come up with. So, but yeah, that's Phil Spencer's CNBC still looking to acquire things, still looking to grow, and pretty much saying we have to with companies like Tencent out there. Let me just let me just get here to a super chat from an XBI panel member, Silent Cypher, with a $20 super chat. Appreciate that, Silent. Thank you very much for that. Thanks for the continued content, Plume. Great to see my brother Sourbloww on the show with you, and great conversations. Yeah, it's been, I agree, man. Great conversations. Awesome having Sourbloww here.
Thank you.
But I think like that's it. Those are all the topics for the day. You have any final thoughts on anything we talked about? Anything, any wisdom you want to pass on to the chat, Sour? Before we sign off?
I was just thinking about when you were talking about the, Microsoft being hands off.
Yeah.
I also think of it as a way of them kind of like telling other developers, like, look what we're doing. Even though like this studio is doing, like, they're having all these problems and all these issues, we're still hands off. So if you would like to join us, this is kind of a, what we're going to do if we purchase you. Like, we're still going to be hands off. And I think that's, that's very appealing for a lot of these studios that they're trying to maybe acquire in the future. And I think that's maybe part of their plan. What do you have it? Do you think the same way, or?
I actually never thought of it that way, but actually it sounds like it would be a very good strategy if they're, and I feel like you said, like as a developer, it's probably one of their biggest fears is getting bought up by these companies and then having to put stuff into games that they just don't want to do, or work on projects that they don't care to work on. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, and then you have, of course, we have a lot of economical issues right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of these studios are hurting, and eventually, when it gets to a point like, hey, we have to sell, who are the buyers? And we have, okay, Tencent is the buyer, Embracer is the buyer, Microsoft is the buyer. Who's the better option? Well, Microsoft's pretty hands off, so we're gonna be able to do whatever we want, and we're gonna get the backing from a pretty healthy company. So
yeah,
maybe we should take that route.
And they're gonna get the backing of 25 plus million, whatever it is now, gamers instantly. They get to play the game into Game Pass, which is something that even as a small developer not owned by Xbox is probably just extremely appealing if you can get your game to a point where Xbox approaches you or you approach Xbox and make a deal with them. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I never thought about that if from like the developer's point of view, where it's like, yeah, if this company isn't going to try to control everything we do, if we have multiple offers on the table, we'll go with them. So yeah, that could
Yeah.
definitely work in their favor.